Welcome to the Cemetery Gates podcast featuring Xander and Android virus. Hey guys, welcome back to the Cemetery Gates podcast. I am Android Virus, joined by my illustrious co-host, Mr. Xander Kane. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, doing good this Monday evening here in the month of October.
That's right, man. Our second volume in our 31 Days of Horror series for Halloween for the year 2020 here on the Cemetery Gates podcast.
I know. Well, glad to be doing it again. So,
yes.
You know.
So it's you and I tonight, and it'll be you and I next week. Want to just have some well wishes to Mona, who was in our last couple shows with us. She's having a little bit of medical issues, so I hope she gets well and gets better. So just kind of giving a shout out to her.
Yeah, much love, Mona. We'll see you soon.
Yes, ma'am. You're always welcome back. And then in a couple weeks, we'll have Miss Heather Powell back on, and
maybe we'll see how I feel about it then.
Yeah, we'll see if she brings the fire, as she says. So
the Canadian fire.
The Canadian firecracker is what I'm going to call her from now on.
That's it. That's her nickname, the Canadian firecracker.
I'm putting this down for the next time we film or re-record. Just so I don't, because I may not remember that.
Oh, I'm not going to forget it. At least when she's on the show, I'm not going to forget it.
Right. So how's your sober October going?
That's funny.
Yeah, mine's going good though. Actually, yeah, I had a rough.
I'm proud of you.
Yes, my I may have put it on the show. I hope it's not getting too personal, but my son. My oldest stepson, he's like 27, but he bought the house right next door to us, so we share a property line, and his father-in-law's 50th birthday was Saturday, so it was a surprise. And I don't know if you know, but here in New Mexico, us Chicanos, man, when we get down, and they're like, come do some shots of Patron with us, come drink some Modelo's, and I'm like, I can't! God damn you! I was so like chomping at the bit. Like I was like, I'm going home.
I'm going for a run.
Yeah, I went home. I literally came home, and I got some like enchiladas and pozole and beans and everything. Just made myself a nice plate. I came home and I sat at my kitchen table and I put together Masters of the Universe, freaking Lego set. For like 4 hours. Yeah, I mean, pass the time. So
yeah.
So there you have it. All right, man. So, Volume 2 of our 2020 30 Days of Horror, 31 Days of Horror, Halloween, our marathon episode. And I am going to be doing movies 9 through 16 on my list. And we'll just kind of, I'll probably do 3. You could do 3. You know what I mean? So we could just do it that way. All right, man. So first on my list, and I told you I was going to be getting into this, is I did 1972's Tombs of the Blind Dead. It's a Spanish-Portuguese horror film written and directed by Armando de Osorio. And basically, this is the first in a quadrilogy of basically the Blind Dead series.
Yeah.
There's 3 official sequels written and directed by the same guy, all from the 70s. And basically it is it's an homage. It's influenced by obviously George Romero zombie stuff. So there you have it. But it takes place. It starts off with the Knights Templars, who basically like the medieval Knights Templars in Spain and Portugal. who basically in real life were dissolved in the 14th century on charges of witchcraft and heresy. But in this movie, and they may or may not have done that, but that's a whole different thing. They said in the real life, they were said to be getting too much power for the church's liking, and the church kind of excommunicated them. So, and then had them killed off. So, but anyways, in this movie, they kind of take that idea but they take what the Knights Templars were doing is they were sacrificing, women, just women, to whatever pagan god they were worshiping in secret. They were cutting their hearts out, and that's kind of how this movie starts. And they get tried for their crimes. They get hung, and their eyes get picked out by vultures or fucking crows or whatever the case may be. So in this one, it's just kind of like it's kind of like a weird, with most of these movies, it has a lot to do with couples and weird little love stories. The only the only
like a 70s trope.
Yeah, and the only thing that connects these movies are the blind dead, not really any of the characters throughout the movie.
Yeah, there's nothing. It's just the actual.
Right. And so in this one, there's kind of like a triad, like a dude and a chick who are seeing each other, and then her friend, they so happen to run into her like at some vacation resort, and they all decide to go on vacation, and her boyfriend's kind of flirting with the chick. So she gets pissed and she jumps off the train in the middle of the Spanish Portugal countryside, quote unquote, on these haunted burial grounds and where the Knights Templars are, and she decides to stay the night in this castle, and they pretty much wake up from the dead and they fucking kill her. And then so her friend and her boyfriend want to go investigate to see where she's at, and she kind of gets turned into a zombie as well, wakes up in the hospital, kills some other people, but in the meantime, her and her friend and her boyfriend and a couple of other people that they hire go back to see what they can do to figure out what the hell's going on. And of course, the blind dead wake up. Chaos runs amok. Typical zombie stuff. One chick makes it out alive, who, which is really funny, ends up being like a lesbian. That's the the undertone in the movie. Like, all the dudes are trying to hit on her because she's beautiful, but she's like finally like, no, I don't roll that way. Which is kind of ballsy for like a 72 movie. You know what I mean? I think,
especially a 70s like Spanish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's some like really cool scenery in this one.
There's a lot of great in this whole series as a whole. There's just a lot of great, really cool, spooky shots. That's one of the reasons I love the trilogy.
Right.
Like there's a lot of cool shots coming up out of the water. The fog like rolls through the town. Like it just looks creepy as fuck.
I didn't get over the fact on how badass these zombie Knight Templars looked on their horses. They just looked like just a group of death. Like, when you think of death, driving, it just really, really awesome, man. As far as that was concerned. In this first one, I don't know if I caught a cut version. There wasn't a whole lot of gore in this one. A lot of it was implied. There was some gross stuff in it, but nothing too crazy. I enjoyed this one. I think, and we'll get into it a little bit more. But for my money on this one, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. It did it for me. It was cool just to see how, I don't know, I just thought it was pretty awesome, just the way they looked, the gothic feel of it, the castles, the fog. A lot of the imagery was really, really cool, man.
Yeah,
so
it's like when you see them on the horses like that, it's like 4 Horsemen apocalypse style. Like they're coming to end the fucking world. Like,
yeah, and it wasn't too bad, man. I'm gonna really quickly segue into, again, that one got a 3 out of 5 for me. And then I'm gonna segue into the direct sequel. This one came out in 1973.
Was that the Ghost Galleon?
No, Ghost of
Or
Galleon is going to be part
third
3.
one. Okay, I
Yeah,
can
Night of
remember
the
the order.
Seagulls. Yeah, Night of the Seagulls will be 4. And then so this one, it's Return of the Blind Dead.
Okay.
And so basically, again, just another kind of a weird story. This one was 73, so a year later. Written, directed by the same guy, Armando Del Sorio. And Return of the Blind Dead, basically, it opens up again with a flashback to the 13th century Portugal/Spain. And in this one, it's a different opening. A peasant mob captured some Knights Templar and preparing to birth them from witchcraft for murder. And one of the knights kind of, he swears revenge against the village. So now we don't know if they're like the same Knights of Templar or just kind of like linked to the other Knights of Templar, but it's the Blind Dead series. So these guys get their eyes poked out by torches instead of hung, right?
Well,
so,
of course.
Yeah, so they get their eyes poked out like, you'll never see the light again, you're cursed. So it goes to present, into that same village that all this happened in. And they're actually doing a 500th anniversary to defeat from when they defeated the Templars. And excuse me, man, I got a little frog in my throat there. But
Sure, it's not a Templar
that's stabbing me in the throat.
coming for you.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so
it was a bad joke.
that's okay. They're fucking wanted to stick their fucking coals down my throat and kill me like a fucking goddamn whatever. I don't know. But anyways, so in this movie we kind of have like some character development. There's a like kind of a town, a village. They call him the village. Like, I don't know. He's like the village idiot. He's kind of like a weird looking dude. And he's getting attacked by a bunch of kids. He gets run off by this girl and this other guy who they're a romantically involved couple there who are there to help bring fireworks into the village. Right? He's a fireworks technician.
A pilot technician.
Yeah, and then he meets a mayor and their assistants and a bunch of other people, and it's revealed that the mayor and his chick have a history. So there's like kind of these weird little love triangles in these films, and then you kind of the festival's in full swing, everything's going, and for some odd reason the weird the village idiot guy, right? He decides to sacrifice a chick
to appease them.
To appease them for whatever reason. Didn't really say, but that was pretty.
Yeah, there's
bloody.
there's no real lead up to like for whatever. He just does it.
Mhm.
If I remember correctly, he just does it. You're like, oh, okay. So we're sacrificing because they don't sacrifice anyone on the first one. So you're like, why would this?
Yeah, so
Okay.
like her blood opens up like the Knights Templar waking up. He does a little blood sacrifice, and I don't know again maybe I caught a cut version of the first one, but this one it was a little bit more visceral. You see the more breasts, the knife going into the chest, the heart being pulled out, all that fun stuff. The Templars awake, they rise, they wreak havoc upon the town. They're all trying to escape, and this one's a little bit more scarier and different than the first one, whereas like they're more secluded to the castle. And the first one, it just seemed like they couldn't leave those haunted grounds, and this one they're able to like go into the village more and just wreak havoc amongst the villagers on their horseback with their swords. They're not necessarily like zombie eaters, but they just want to kill people,
Yeah. I think some of that just has to do with the anniversary, the 500-year whatever thing is why
Right.
they're able to. Maybe I think the sacrifice probably is what led them to be able to run amok more.
Right. And there's just like a lot of weird little love triangles, a lot of little weird things. Let me just say, there's a lot of pushy men in these films. A lot of pushy, like Me Too movement type of shit in these movies, man. A lot of assholes, and I'm glad to see that like most of the like perpetrators get their comeuppance in these movies. Like a lot of these would-be rapists and gropers and ass grabbers, they definitely get their comeuppance in these films, which is really cool. But the knights descend on the village, wreak havoc. People die. All kinds of weird stuff happens. The heroes of the film, meaning like the guy and the girl and the little girl,
The people who live.
the people who live, they slip past the Knights Templar, and the Knights Templar for some reason decide not to kill them, and then they crumble to the ground during the morning light, so they stayed outside. So it's like a weird, I don't know, it's kind of weird. But anyways, they leave, and that's the end of that one. So, yeah, just another trilogy. And this one was cool. I didn't feel like as many cool, creepy, atmospheric type of stuff. There was some stuff, but not as much as the first one. So for this one, Return of the Blind Dead, I actually gave this one about a 3 out of 5, not a 3.5. It's just the creepiness factor wasn't there for me. But it was okay. It wasn't awful. I didn't hate it. Very middle of the road, a little bit above middle of the road. And then on to my third review for the night, 1973's Psychomania. So look, I'm aware of the name. I'm aware of the poster. I'm aware of the cool looking helmets. The motorcycle.
Yeah, there's a really cool slipcover for the Blu-ray release from Vinegar Syndrome. That it looks great.
Yeah, and so basically, it's pretty much about a motorcycle gang in England who are the cleanest motorcycle gang I've ever known. Yeah, and they really kind of seem cut out of the lead guy's doing his best to do Alex from A Clockwork Orange. I'll just put it to you that way. But it's basically about these motorcycle riders. One of the guys commits suicide after they all basically what happens is start over again. This guy's a leader of a violent motorcycle gang, and him and his girlfriend, he loves his girlfriend, he loves his mom. The gang dabble in black magic. They call themselves the Living Dead. His mom and her butler get their kicks of holding seances, and basically the guy somehow returns from the dead. There's a frog involved somehow. And one by one, his fellow bikers, he convinces them to commit suicide, and as they can return to life. They don't like zombify, like, zombies fall apart, stink, rot. They're more like vampires, but I mean, in that sense, right? Like, they're not vampires like they need people's drug. They're just like, we're going to be immortal and live forever. Right? So I don't know if they're zombies or vampires, but either way, they made a deal with the devil. They're the undead. So leave it up to you what they are. So basically, they just kind of terrorize the town locals. The dude's main chick in the motorcycle gang doesn't want to die. She wants to live. She doesn't want to be a part of that. So the rest of the motorcycle gang kind of turns on her. His mom realizes, man, I kind of created a monster here by doing all my seances and teaching them about all this esoteric shit. I got to put a stop to this. So she breaks her pact or breaks her deal with the devil or whatever the case may be. She puts her soul into the frog, and like at the end of the movie, the biker gang and the main biker guy all turn into rocks. Like
Fun.
Stonehenge.
Yeah.
And for the worst goddamn fucking graphics I've ever seen in my life, this lithograph, like change from like human to rock form, and then she screams, and that's it. Let me just put it this way. It's boring, and because we did talk about this a little, I find English horror movies incredibly boring. Especially from the 60s and 70s. I don't know why.
Yeah, they're I mean, like, because we were talking about Hammer and Amicus and whatnot, but I got to be in the mood to watch those specifically. Like, I enjoy them, and there's a lot that I really love, but like, if I'm not in the right mindset to sit down and watch it, I'm just completely uninterested. Mm-hmm. So, but however, where this one differs where Psychomania differs is it's also just a lost opportunity of like having a badass biker horror movie.
Yeah,
in
they're
the
just
70s. Like it's just a huge whiff.
yeah. It's not. They're so clean, and they're so like trying their best to be like a Clockwork Orange, and
it's just not the movie. It's just not gritty enough at all.
no.
I mean, it's kind of the same problem I have with the Warriors, right? Like, I like the Warriors how it looks, but I'm very disappointed in the lack of violence and the grittiness of the Warriors, and everybody seems to hold it pretty high regard, and I'm like, meh.
Yeah. I mean, it's go watch. Go watch Tenement. Oof, that's rough. But anyways, for me, man, like honestly, like a 1.5 out of 5 on this one, and the only reason why I even gave it that was just for the mere fact I liked their outfits. I thought they were pretty cool, and for kind of a unique idea on bringing these dudes back from the dead. But other than that, it was just a bunch of hubbub, like a whiff. It didn't do it for me, man. So 1.5 out of 5 on Psychomania, man. So there you have it.
Boom.
There you go.
Right on. Yeah, I'm sorry you had to sit through Psychomania, but
It's okay.
hey, man, some people love it, but not me, and clearly not you.
All right, your next 3.
All right. So up first for me is a 2019 film called The Baylock Residence. It is directed by Anthony M. Winson, who's done a few other low-budget independent horror stuff, but I'm not really familiar with any of them. Mm-hmm. However, so this is about a lady who is like estranged from her family for a while, and then all of a sudden she gets like a phone call, and her sister's passed away, and so she's got to go back over and kind of take over her estate and deal with all that stuff. And she kind of befriends her sister's maid, and that's like really the only other big character in the movie, and the whole movie is just spent with it's a ghost story, and it's like, I don't know, like it's a pretty weak plot, right? Like it's not, it's very kind of loosey-goosey almost. Like it's like, oh yeah, so she inherits this giant creepy house, cool. And then you just kind of get tiny little pellets of, the story elaborating, and it just moves at a complete snail's pace. So it's really hard to like even stay interested in it. But I did like the lead actress. I thought she did fine. It just seemed like maybe the writing was more so the culprit that was kind of bringing it down. And it had some pretty the house was cool, and it was shot well enough. I don't know, it was just slow go and just not really anything happening. There's a few good like little kind of spooky scenes, and I can't even really I think there's one or two, but I can't even really recall exactly how they happened, but I didn't take good enough notes on those. But it was just super underwhelming, but it wasn't the worst thing I had ever seen. I don't know, it was just boring, right?
Right.
And just nothing there. It's, I don't know. It's a ghost. If you're like a ghost story lover, I guess maybe give it a go. But for me, the Baylock Residence was pretty forgettable all in all. Like, just wasn't really much there. So, I mean, there's really just not much else to say about it. It's just not that interesting of a movie. It's a haunted, how there's like a million of those haunting at whatever movies on all the streaming services.
Sure. It
just kind of felt like another one of those kind of copy and paste. A lot of them are coming out right now, so maybe I'm a little jaded because there's so many of them out there right now, and so many of them just aren't very good. So it's hard to find.
Seems like a spitball attempt at like just another haunted, type of movie, and just didn't pay off.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that, like I said, I think the actress did fine. That's not really a knock on the actress. I thought she was probably the best part in the whole thing. But all in all, that's just like a 2 out of 5 for me. It just didn't really move. And the only reason it's a 2 is because it's like, well, I didn't hate it, but it definitely was below average. But it also, I would never pop it in and look at it again. I think I'm done with this. So you guys could skip it if you want. Or you can go check it out. Don't let me sway you in any way.
Don't let us. Yeah, don't let these reviews sway you guys. Check it out for yourselves.
Yeah, we don't know what we're talking about. It's fine.
No, we just.
Oh, right. No, hell no. I'm trying to find the other movie. No. Super prepared here.
There you are, Mr. Preparedness. Yeah. Mr. Xander Kane, the prepared man.
That's right. There we go. Got it.
All right. Cool.
So up next is 1989's Paganini Horror. Who I've always absolutely loved this movie poster, like for years, but you couldn't find the fucking movie anywhere. And then finally Severin put it out, and I think it's actually on Tubi now. So it is it fits in the kind of not metal horror, but like it's music inspired horror from the 80s, right? So it's like a female new wave-ish band is trying to record a new album, and their producer or whatever doesn't like the sound that they're emitting. She's like, it's the same old recycled garbage, you can't make a hit out of this, and tells them, the lead female singer, that she's all washed up and blah blah blah, and that she better find a hit, right? You got to find a hit, got to make some money. And so this one of the other guys in the band, who's kind of like, it's like a 3-piece female rock band, but this guy's like kind of he plays keyboards, I don't know, but he has a mask on sometimes. It's weird. But he figures out somehow, we don't know how, he figures out that this guy he's got to meet, who happens to be Donald Pleasance, has like this secret music thing that'll, change their lives or whatever. And he cuts a deal with Donald Pleasance to get this thing from Paganini. And Paganini is a famous Italian violinist, right? So he's like this super famous violinist, and this guy has a piece of work from him. And so he trades some money to Donald Pleasance for this sheet of music that's like wrapped up in a scroll and covered in like a wax blood seal. And it's like a 200-year-old piece of music that Paganini wrote that has never been played before, and it was never recorded or published or anything. But no one's ever heard it. So that's why they decide to use this music when he gets it from him, and he plays it for him. He takes the little scroll from Donald Pleasance, who, by the way, is only in this movie he may have been on set for an hour, like
hired for a day.
He literally, he just shows up as the creepy guy with the suitcase with the music in it, and they have that exchange, and then 20 minutes later you see him on top of a building throwing the money out of the bag that he just got, saying, fly away, you little demons, fly away, just throwing money off the fucking roof of a building. And that's it. That's all you ever see of Donald Pleasance. So he's not really that much.
He's kind of like the poor man's John Saxon.
He looks like it. He looks like he was, I don't know. He was looking old and tired in this movie for the short period of time he was in it. But the dude takes that piece of music back and he plays it for the girls. Of course, everybody loves it. But now, of course, what do you think's going to happen? This 200-year-old secretly sealed music has been played. Guess what? It summons some sort of monster demon thingy.
I didn't see that coming at all.
I know, right? How wildly unpredictable.
Wow.
And so then it switches a weird gear where they're shooting the music video for the song, but you don't really know they're shooting the music video yet. And then some weird shit happens. You're like, oh, they're making a music video. There's no hint to it. It's just all of a sudden cuts to them, a scene, and you just think it's part of the movie or a character's hallucinating or something, and you're like, what? So it's this really weird transition into that scene. But then once you realize what's going on, it's like, oh, it's pretty cool. And then, as they play the music over and over, all of them start dying one by one, right? And it's just kind of like a cat and mouse game of them running around this mansion that they filmed the music video in, trying to stay alive. You have some really cool kills. There's a really great kill where a girl is basically compressed to death, and the way they did it was they basically filmed her behind plexiglass, so her hands are up, and you can just see her face like crushing, and then like blood pops up, and that's a damn cool scene. And then there's like a weird scene where one of the girls gets cut by the violin. So there's like this violin with a sword in the end of it that the Paganini characters all robed up and like messing with her with, which is like, I don't know, it's just, the whole thing is just kind of, it goes from being cool to weird to what the hell. And then it like cuts her and like her skin starts like melting and changing like street trash colors where it's like yellow, red, and blue, and her whole body's melting in this giant burn victim looking carcass on the bed. And it's just, you know, and more things happen than some of the other characters. It's just them trying to escape the wrath of Paganini's horror, like of what they've unleashed. All in all, like, there's definitely some issues with this movie as far as like content and like when things happen and why things happen. However, it is a fun fucking ride. Like, I think it's cool as shit. Like, the music is fun. I think some of the deaths are super creative. It ends kind of weird, but outside of that, I still think it's pretty damn enjoyable. So, and a lot of people hate this movie, but I don't think it's that bad at all. I think it's 3 out of 5 for Paganini horror. That one was
nice.
It wasn't bad at all. I don't know what all the hate was about on Paganini horror. I think a lot of people may have built that one up a good bit.
You liked it,
but I did like it. I did like it.
Awesome.
And then my third one for here is going to be a little flick called Fanged Up.
Fanged Up.
Yeah, with your boy, Wade Barrett? Is that who it is?
Oh yeah, the wrestler. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love Wade Barrett. He's great.
Yeah, so Wade Barrett's he's a prisoner in this movie, and the guards are vampires in this prison, right? So, cool idea. However, not very good movie. Okay, I will say Wade Barrett's character is pretty funny. He's like, you know, he's this big giant dude in there.
He's a pro wrestler. He can act. He can do his own stunts. He can fall.
Yeah.
He can punch.
So
he's a big dude.
I will say his character is funny, but the biggest problem overall with this movie is it's kind of once again a wasted, really cool idea. You know, a prison with guards that are vampires, and then basically they just start like getting at some of the inmates are basically like their little play toys. And there's some really great scenes where, you know, of course they're trying to fight back and fight the vampires, but man, like, you keep getting like turned off by everybody's trying to make a joke, right? Like, everything is trying to be funny, and it gets so irritating. Like, okay, it's not a full-on comedy. I guess if it's like your type of humor, then maybe you'd be like, oh, this is the funniest shit ever. But like, it just got old. It just felt like a bunch of people trying to be comedians a lot of the time, which is a bummer because there's a ton of money put into it. There's some really great fight scenes, some gore and all that. Like, the makeup looks good, the prison looks good. Like, a ton of money was put in this thing, but it just wasn't it. There's too much focus on comedy and not enough horror on it, like, in my opinion. And like the cover looks kind of cheesy when you look at it. It looks like a vampire version of Shaun of the Dead, kind of.
Right.
Like, it has all the inmates at the bottom, and at the top it has the vampires at the top. But it does have its moments, but it's just, I don't know, like, even the tagline like compares it does for vampire flicks what Shaun of the Dead did, which is a fucking ridiculous quote. It's not even close. But there's some really, really great makeup in it, and it's a super bummer that it's just not more entertaining.
Try too hard, it sounds like.
Yeah, it on the comedy side, like I said, like, there was some good gore scenes with some with them fighting at the vampires, but like, it just didn't really. It's on Amazon Prime if anybody wants to check it out, but it was not my favorite. But I'm very critical of horror comedies, man. I feel like for every 100, we get one good horror comedy. I think that's such a hard. Humor is subjective, so like, it's just a hard nail to hit on the head. So. Yeah,
dude. So no muy bueno for you.
It's 2.5 out of 5. It was okay. It was average, but like, the hype on it did not build it up. So.
Gotcha.
what are we gonna do? But if you like to watch your wrestling dudes go on the big screen, like I said, his parts are funny. So,
well, they're. I mean, those wrestlers are notorious for just being in just really bad throwaway films, man. I mean, how many Marines are there? Like the first Marine, I guess. I don't know who was even in the first Marine movie.
Was it Kurt Angle?
No, he was in one of them though. But
Cena was in one. Kurt Angle was in one.
Mike Mizanin was in one.
Oh yeah.
The Miz was in one. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Randy Orton was in one. It's like WWE had this Marine series, like
yeah, we got this one on lock. We have the rights till 2024.
Yeah,
we're gonna weekend.
We're gonna get like whatever fucking guy we think would be a badass Marine. So there you go. All right, man. So on to my fourth pick for the night. I decided for my next two movies to delve into some awesome. And no offense to anybody, some blaxploitation horror. I know that term's not very PC nowadays, but it is what it is back in the day. So please take that with a grain of salt. I'm just speaking for the time of the 70s.
Yeah, and there hasn't really been a replacement
name
for that genre.
Yeah.
Yet,
so and I mean, like a lot of the African American community really has embraced that blaxploitation type of horror, and there's a lot of cool podcasts out there by some African American dudes that like to really deep dive into the old blaxploitation stuff, whether it be horror, comedy, or whatever, action. And so, anyways, not to get crazy political here, I did 1974 Sugar Hill.
I like that movie.
Something I've never seen. I've seen the trailer a million times, but I just have never gotten around to see Sugar Hill. It's directed by Paul Maslansky and starring the beautiful Miss Marky Bay. Yeah, and so basically she's the title character, and she uses voodoo to get revenge on the people responsible for her boyfriend's death. So it kind of just starts out with like, your awesome, funky, badass fucking, nightclub, everybody's chilling, have a good time. Everybody's dressed in your normal 1970s regalia, finely, evenly picked afros all around, badass fucking costumes. And she's at her man's club, and he don't want to sell to the mob. And, so what happens when you don't sell out to the mob? The mob does what the mob does. And he gets killed, and she wants to exact revenge. And so she goes and sees like a local, voodoo priest or whatever the case may be. And basically she's a former voodoo queen named Mama Matrice. And they take revenge, and Mama Matrice summons a voodoo lord of the dead named Baron Samedi, who is just an awesome, fun, wild character in this movie, man. He is cool.
He's great.
He's just so cool, man, and just he hams it up. But it's as far as I've seen a lot of blaxploitation movies, man. I've seen like the Blackula movies. I've seen Dr. Black, Mr. Hyde, a lot of these movies. And this one, man, just really does it for me. I don't want to give too much away about it because I like it that much, but she enlists some voodoo fucking hitmen, basically. And they just kind of exact revenge on all these guys that, did her man wrong and killed her. And this voodoo Lord of the Dead helps her out and does her exploits, and so does Mama Matrice, and they're just so you want to say that they're the bad guys of the movies, but they're not. You know what I mean? They do horrific things to these people, and they kill them in really fun, horrific ways. Again, you got snakes, you got chicken foot, you got all kinds of craziness in this movie, man. You got like zombies choking dudes on the massage table. Go ahead.
There's also a really great scene with her in the car, and all the zombies are surrounding the car, like beating on the windows, and all that. And the zombies have like these really big eyes.
Yeah, like
it's fucking creepy as shit. Like it's so cool.
Can I just say, like, these are kind of gone down in history as upon viewing this film as some of my most favorite looking zombies, and the
It's just
reason
so
why,
different. It's
well,
just so different.
it just take, like, let's just say if we cut a ping pong ball in half and kind of maybe like glued them to our eyeballs and spray painted them silver, and then just kind of gave us some little dark ambiance. That's kind of how their eyes looked.
Yeah.
Really cool. And then the webs, the way they had their cobwebs, they were like shrouds, on all of them, all the zombies. They had like cobwebs that were like shrouds walking around. It was almost like they were almost like their cloaks, but they were cobwebs. And again, like, they have some weird, I don't know why this lieutenant police was in there. He didn't do a goddamn thing in it other than just weird questioning, but that was like my only thing that I didn't really like about him, about that. Yeah. But again, the zombies, she's beautiful. The zombies are cool looking. Baron Samedi's awesome. The old lady, Mama Matrice is creepy looking. Man, just a fun revenge film. I couldn't get enough of it. I'd probably buy this. There is
a nice Blu-ray release of it these days, so
beautiful. This movie gets a solid 5 out of 5 for me, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you watched the movie. I'm of the camp that I don't think that movie gets enough love. It really doesn't.
Oh no, man.
Just even when you isolate it to like blaxploitation, it doesn't get enough love. Let alone just like encompassing all of horror. Like, it is. I think the love for it has slowly grown, and it is picking up some speed. I mean, obviously, because they put a nice Blu-ray out of it. I think I don't remember if it's Vinegar Syndrome or.
Well, and you also got to think it's an American International release, and they're really not known for their highbrow films in the 70s, and American International was kind of like, again, they did Dolomite and a lot of just crap movies, really bad movies, and this is pretty much one of those movies on a higher level. So again, man, a solid 5 out of 5. Sugar Hill, check it out, man. Just an all-around great film, 1974. All right, so my next film, I did another 1974 movie, and this was completely by happenstance. I didn't even know that this would. It's not even. I don't even think I would consider this a blaxploitation film. I know I kind of prefaced it with that, but this one, I just saw the name and I picked it, and I didn't know it's The House on Skull Mountain.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, so this is another like African American led, a horror film from 1974. I don't want to put it in the blaxploitation category because it's not. It doesn't have those tropes of like the typical, stereotypical whatever, right? The pimps and this and that, and it's not really like that. This movie kind of more plays off as a 13 Ghosts type of feel, but it's 1974. It was directed by Ron Hothanner, and basically what it is, man. Okay, so this is another voodoo movie. A lady, Pauline Christophe, that's her last name, the sole heir for her mansion on Skull Mountain. And this movie was filmed on location in Atlanta, just to give you a shout out, brother.
Was it?
Yeah, so, and Atlanta's all over this movie. But so basically she dies. She may or may not be a voodoo chick. They kind of throw that around at the beginning. Right. But she sends out 4 letters.
F-U-C-K.
Yes, she sends out 4 letters. Pauline gives her priest 4 letters, instructing them to send them out without allowing anybody to read them. And when she pulls them out of the box, these letters out of the box with these voodoo dolls, she dies. 2 days later, you get 4 people showing up to the mansion. 2 chicks, a dude who was Lionel on the Jeffersons. So I don't know if you remember the Jeffersons or Lionel.
I do.
Yeah, so Lionel, he's kind of a dick in this one. And 2 beautiful women. They're all African American. And then you get one other guy showing up, who's a white dude. And these are all like the great-grandchildren. And they're like, well, you're white. What are you doing here? He's like, I don't know. I was adopted. But somehow I'm your guys' cousin. You know what I mean? It's really funny. But anyways, the Lionel from the Jeffersons. He's kind of a dick. He's getting drunk. I don't want to read no letters. Just give me my inheritance. And one by one, they all start seen like evil, like an Evil Dead type, not Evil Dead, but like death, right? Like, kind of Tombs of the Blind Dead type of figure, lurking around the mansion outside. And one by one, they all kind of start getting taken out, right? And they're trying to figure out what's going on. And as it turns out, is the guy in control the whole time was the butler, and he had a whole crew of people doing voodoo seances below in the basement, and basically it's a voodoo movie, and the remaining chick and the white dude, the only ones that are remaining are, like kind of there holding the bag, like, hey, we don't want this to happen. They come on a voodoo ceremony, which there was some really amazing production in it. It was really cool, man. Like, they had a whole room of just dancers, snakes, just insanity going on, which I thought was really cool. But, the movie kind of ends up with the good guys winning. I'm not going to give too much away about this one. Man, I really, really enjoyed the shit out of this one. It did get a 4 out of 5 for me because there were some lulls in it. Because it's definitely kind of like a 13 Ghosts type of feel, House on Haunted Hill type of feel. So it does come off as a mystery a little bit. There are some, and the horror it's not too gory, but there's some fun atmospheric, creepy stuff in it. And again, I don't know if I'd put this as a blaxploitation film, other than it just had a bunch of like African American actors in it. You know what I mean? But House on Skull Mountain, 1974, solid 4 out of 5 for me, man. It was it's a good find, man. If
I'll
you can find
that to my queue.
Yes, super fun movie, man. And all right, and so third. Whew.
This one's gonna be short, huh?
This is I don't know where to go with this. I'm either I can't figure out if I hate this movie or love this movie. Okay, Beyond the Door.
Oh, I did this one last year.
Did you?
Yeah, we did, but we didn't record. But I watched it last year.
Oh, okay. Beyond the Door.
I'm gonna see if I have a review on Letterboxd of this one. So you carry on.
Yeah, so it's an Italian / American movie. It was filmed in Italy on a soundstage for the indoors. Then the outdoor shots were filmed in San Francisco. It's basically in the English housewife who becomes demonically possessed in the midst of being pregnant, and just weird shit ensues from there. She already have 2 kids. Basically, she's getting sick throughout the pregnancy. Weird things are starting to happen. She may, she's pregnant for a lot longer than what she thought she was. So that means that she probably has the devil's child growing in her. She, hears hallucinations, poltergeist phenomenon, all kinds of weird stuff. It's basically, there's a lot of ripped off scenes from The Exorcist in this one. As a matter of fact, these guys were sued by the creators of Exorcist and had to pay some money out for ripping that movie off. Again, I don't know what to feel about this movie. Like it kind of opens up with like the devil talking, or who Satan is talking, and like a guy's getting ready to crash his car off the cliff, and it kind of alludes that he made a deal with the devil in order to, seed the devil's kid, and it seems like that this is her husband or something that did do this back in the day. But there's a couple of creepy scenes in this film. There's a really cool poltergeist attack with the 2 children in their bedroom, which I thought was really creepy, which was really cool. This movie, it really lulls, man. It's probably about 45 minutes too long for my taste. I think I would have gave it a higher rating if they cut about 45 minutes out of it and just kind of got to the fucking fun shit. But there is some creepy stuff. She looks creepy. There's some good Exorcist ripoff stuff. It's okay. It's probably middle of the road for me, 2.5 out of 5. Like I said, I think I
Yeah.
would have given it a lot higher had it they trimmed a lot of this movie out.
I
So,
rated it. I gave it a 3 out of 5, so we're not far off when I had saw it. But I do remember it being like, what the fuck? This is exorcist shit happening here. But I do love the DVD and poster art for it is actually really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in this movie, man. I mean, it's basically a possession film, and there's some really creepy stuff going on. There's lovers, and the funny part of this is the kids, the voice dubbing of these children is really, really funny. So like the children, they're like talking like they're, hey, get the fuck out of here, you motherfucker, and they're like fucking 7 years old. Like, it's really weird, dude. But anyways, man, so yeah, that one again, 2.5 out of 5 for me. Again, a little long-winded. It was a little bit rough to sit through. I kind of found myself nodding off a little bit, but I made it through it though, man. So Beyond the Door, 1974. There you go.
Yeah, not too shabby. It's okay film.
Yeah.
So up next for me is a Vincent Price film that I had never seen before called Diary of a Madman from 1963. So in this particular film, Vincent Price plays a judge, and he is often brought in to talk to certain, for whatever reasons, like prisoners want to talk to him sometimes, and so he'll go in and talk to them, and like, I don't know if it's for counsel purposes or whatnot. But at the beginning of this movie, he goes in and talks to a guy, and the guy's like, I didn't do it. And he's like, oh, of course, nobody does it. He's like, no, I didn't have control of my body, blah, blah, blah. And so the dude likes to claim, he's trying to tell him that he was possessed by something. And, of course, Vincent Price is like, oh, okay, whatever. Just kind of like brushes it off. But then the guy like jumps up and tries to kill Vincent Price. He's like, oh, shit, this dude is fucking crazy. But he doesn't really think much of it. And then he is also a artist and a sculptor. And he like kind of starts falling for this lady and decides that he's going to sculpt her. And so he like builds this relationship with this woman, comes to find out that this woman is actually married. And so obviously that is problematic. And she decides to like, I'm going to run away with Vincent Price's character, and they're going to stay together. And what happens is, the reason why it's called Diary of a Madman is like, all of a sudden the woman comes up missing, and her current husband, which is not Vincent Price, is the one that's accused for the murder. And so the deceased woman that he fell in love with, her sister, like keeps coming around Vincent Price's place and asking questions, and she's like super suspicious of what's happened. And Vincent Price is trying to get like his butler and maid shipped off to New Zealand or something to his other house because he's like super, super rich. And that was kind of the thing, was like the woman that he was kind of falling in love with, was going to run away with. Her husband didn't make any money, and Vincent Price obviously had all the money. So her husband thought that she was just using Vincent Price for his money and didn't love him. So there's a big war of words between the husband and Vincent Price, but ultimately the husband winds up in jail for it because, no one really knows that she was hanging out with Vincent Price, other than Vincent Price and his butler and maid, who he shipped off to New Zealand. But what slowly happens is like, so this like voice, which is like the demon that possessed the guy earlier in the movie, is like come around, and he's possessed Vincent Price, and he convinces Vincent Price that he's the one that killed the girl that he loved and that was going to run away with. He convinces him that he did it. And so the whole movie is just Vincent Price trying to battle like his inner monologue with this like demon that he sees, and it's just how all it unfolds. And honestly, it's one of the best performances Vincent Price gives from beginning to end in a movie. Like, I absolutely loved it. And there's a lot of, I don't want to give, like we always say, sometimes we do want to give stuff away, sometimes we don't. In this particular scenario, I don't want to give it away because I think it's a fantastic Vincent Price movie if you haven't seen it. I liked how it finished. It was classic Vinny P, and I couldn't have been more happier with it. So that, for me, Diary of the Madman is 4 out of 5.
Cool.
which I didn't expect, honestly, because some of those Vincent Price films I don't really care for, but this one, man, for whatever reason, I was all about it. It was a good time.
Nice.
And up next for me is a little flick called Winter Skin. Yeah, cool name, right? Winter Skin from 2000, and I think it's technically a 2019 film, or was filmed in 2018 but didn't get released till 2019, but whatever. So this flick is on Prime, and I highly recommend it, actually. It's directed by a guy named Charlie Steeds, who did, a bunch of low-budget stuff, so it's kind of a low-budget flick, but man, this movie really nails down like this cool, like, wintry atmosphere, right? So these guys are out in the woods. Like, the movie just starts off, there's two guys out in the woods, just kind of like roaming out in the woods, hunting or whatnot, and they happen upon a cabin, and they kind of find like a blood trail or something, like leads them to get separated. Like, one of them follows on the trail, the other one goes the other way, and it's a father and son actually that are outside doing this little hunting thing. And so something happens to the son, and he gets taken into this like isolated cabin. And so he's basically trapped in this cabin with this crazy old woman who's like, got him. The house is all like securely locked in on inside, and she starts telling like these crazy stories about what's out there. Like, we got to protect us. You can't go out there at night. You'll never make it alive. They'll eat you. And so she starts telling these stories about all the things that have happened to her out in the woods. And of course, it like brings more questions, and he's, think that she's crazy and doesn't believe any of her stories for shit. And this like old woman who I absolutely love, she plays like a crazy ass old lady. Great. The actress's name is Rowena Bentley, who I just want to give her a shout out because I thought she was awesome in this. And the whole movie is just the dude trying to get out of the cabin. And then you think it's like, it's werewolves. What is it? Like, what the fuck is out there? But like when you see them, it's like basically a human with all the flesh torn off. It's just like muscle and blood, and there's just this weird, creepy things. And they start, when you see them, they come into the cabin, and it's just fucking, it's wild looking. It looks gruesome as shit, but it's great. So, that all plays out ultimately. There's kind of like a turning point in the movie where something pretty big happens, which is one of the better parts in the movie for sure. And then, sorry, I have a little bit of indigestion here.
Oh, what'd you eat?
What did I eat? I don't know. I had a burger at lunch. So that's probably what it is.
Oh, there you go.
Stupid fast food will kill us all.
Yes.
But like this movie is just done really. I think it's just done really well on like a pretty minimal budget. I mean, they just film it in one cabin, and the rest of it's filmed out in the woods and the snow. The tone of the movie I feel is really good. I think it's like rated really low on IMDb, but I think that's just bullshit. There's only 230 ratings, and it's rated a 3, which is like just not even no.
More people need to see it.
Yeah, more people need to see it. So I encourage you to see this thing. I think it's really cool. I will give you the one caveat and the heads up, because I know some people don't want to see this. Like, there's a dog that gets taken by the things outside, and it's like it's just like a skinned dog. It's not real. It's not real, but like there's a lot of like camera on it for like. There's probably like it's on camera for probably a good 3 to 5 minutes. Like it's just off and on.
There's a lot of people that will tap out on animal death, even though it's not real.
Yeah, like you don't see anything. Like it's just like the carcass is or they find the carcass and she drags it inside, and then like the old lady's like hugging it and like crying and talking about how she lost her only friend, and she gets like super pissed at the dude. It makes for a great like scene between the two characters, but like just a heads up on Winter Skin. But Winter Skin is a solid 3.5 out of 5 for me.
Nice.
It was a very good surprise. Very low budget flick. I mean, there's not much to it, but man, to me, I think the old lady is awesome. Some people I was reading online were like, she's terrible, blah blah. I was like, oh, she's awesome. I thought she was awesome playing the crazy old lady.
Shut up, you.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, which is, it just wasn't, even like looking at the post and reading about it, it wasn't what I expected. I was like, oh, okay, that's significantly different than I anticipated it being.
Very cool.
And
All
then
right.
my third one on this go around is a flick from 2018 called Camp Coldbrook, starring Danielle Harris, Chad Michael Murray,
Mm-hmm.
and directed by Andy Palmer, who's done some stuff. Some stuff. So this flick is, so Danielle Harris, Chad Michael Murray, they like run a successful ghost hunting like TV show. And at the beginning of the movie, Chad Michael Murray, he's like the head guy of the paranormal team or whatever the hell they're called, and he goes to have a meeting with like the executive, and they're like, you're getting canceled. And so he like bargains with them to like try to get another season or whatnot, but he manages not getting a whole season. But the guy, he convinces the executive to be like, okay, here's you go. You'll finish this, how many episodes for this season, and then you'll shoot this 190-minute episode. And if the ratings are high enough, we'll renew you for season 4. And so he's okay with that news. So he goes back to his team and he pitches it to Danielle Harris and the other people, and they're trying to figure out where to go. And they're like, oh, let's go to Winchester House. Like, oh no, that's stupid. It's, everybody's done that, blah, blah, blah. So they're trying to find the object is to find a place that not everybody's heard of. And they wind up finding Camp Coldbrook, which is like, has this kind of gruesome story where the campers like wind up killing each other and killing themselves. And it's like kids, like they actually show it in the thing, like, oh shit, these kids are definitely dying and killing each other. I mean, it's not like crazy gruesome, but it's like insinuated enough. Like, oh, I'm surprised they did that without getting in trouble. Or without somebody like going up in arms about it, And so they get to the camp and they just place up all the cameras, and then they start finding symbols, and they basically start learning what happened at the camp and how it all unfolds. And then like all these people, most of the people on the ghost hunting crew are like skeptics, like they don't believe in it, so they're always looking for stuff to debunk. So there's lots of scenes where there's quite a few good spooky scenes in there. They're just good use of like shadows and a few little minimal jump scares, but not too many to make it like, oh, here we go again. Just gonna fucking have a cat jump out of the fucking mirror or whatever. So it doesn't come off too cheesy. It does get a little boring for a short period of time. I would say probably about 10-15 minutes of it actually. It's kind of like, but it finished okay. It stayed pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was the story was a little different, and I appreciated that from what I was expecting. But definitely kind of a solid flick for not many. I don't know anybody that's talked about this in too much in depth. But I gave it a 3 out of 5. Gave it a little above average for, there's a lot of these like paranormal hunter movies. Like I did one last episode with the ghost killers and there's Bloody Marys. Like there's a million of these like ghost hunter like mock kind of mockumentary style, but this one's not like, it's not making fun of it like Ghost Killers or Grave Encounters. Like it's not being tongue in cheek. It's just like, oh, this is what they do. More
straightforward.
Yeah. So it was pretty solid.
Well, there you go, man. So my last 2 picks are going to be wrapped up with the Blind Dead series. So we got 1974's The Ghost of Galleon. And so we continue the Blind Dead series with the Blind Dead, but on this one, they're on a boat, a galleon, a ship.
Yeah.
So this one, basically, I would have to say is my least favorite in the series.
I would agree with you 100% that this is my least favorite.
Not a lot going on in this one, man.
You feel like you're waiting for something to happen. You're
and
like, okay.
Dude, I literally was like at the 50-minute mark and not shit happened until we got like a good beheading. You know what I mean? Yeah. But a pair of swimsuit models are out on a boat staging a publicity stunt by appearing to be stranded. They discover a mysterious galleon and a shroud of mist, and they go on it. And when they're lost, a wealthy and a wealthy guy and another business guy, they decide to mount their own rescue mission. And then there's one of the girls is like an abducted I don't know. She's looking for her friend who was one of the models, and she gets abducted by the guy who's doing the publicity stunt. She escapes. The businessman and his secretary. A businessman and a secretary. His secretary recruit a scholar to assist him to search for the missing models. The galleon appears to carry the coffins of the Knights Templar. They get up. They kill everybody on the boat. Pretty much, not everybody, but quite a few people. And basically, the two survivors kind of wind up on the ocean, and the Knights Templars like walk up on the ocean, and they look up as the Knight Templars are coming down on them, and the movie ends. So really not a happy ending on this one, like the other ones where people kind of get away. Nobody gets away in this one, but it's the Ghosts of Galleon. They're on this boat, and it's honestly, man, super fucking boring. I got
it didn't. For me, this one didn't really. I mean, it fit in the series technically, but it didn't. It didn't have a lot of the other things that you were expecting to see that you got in the first two movies, and it just didn't get there.
Yeah. So
and I don't know if it was budgetary reasons, because it looked fine, but who knows?
Yeah, it wasn't that great, man. So for me, man, the Ghost of Galleon, just maybe like a 1.5, out of 5. It just did not do it for me. Just was super fucking boring. Could have been so much better. They didn't look cool. There was no horses in it. They really meandered around on a deck of a fucking shitty ass boat. So there you go. All right, man. So again, a 1.5 out of 5 on that one for me. And then 1975's, I cracked half the decade, brother. Yeah, Night of the Seagulls. Again, directed by Armando de Osorio, same guy who did the first 3. This is the 4th and final installment of the Blind Dead series. And basically, it starts off in medieval times on this one. Again, young couple's attacked by the Knights Templar. The guy's killed instantly. The woman's carried away. She's sacrificed to get a nice heart scene, breasts, heart. So it's basically kind of like the second one. Knights Templar on a coastal town. Town is cursed. The townsfolk will sacrifice a chick every now and then to stave off the dead, and they do come take her. And, it's kind of like a mixed bag love story with a doctor who ends up on the island with his wife. They're really not welcome there because they're kind of outsiders. And basically they find out that the town does harbor some ancient evil. And every 7 years, the Knights Templar ride out from the sea, for 7 consecutive nights, demand the sacrifice of a young maiden. And on this one, they try to save one of the young maidens from a horrible fate, but and there's another village idiot in this one that helps them out. But in this one, to wrap up the series, they find what's keeping these guys alive is this statue that they worship, and they finally destroy the statue, ending the curse of the Blind Dead for the last 4 movies. And there you have it.
Yeah.
This one's okay. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's not a strong finish, but it's not as bad as Galleon. So
no, and I would have to say this is probably be like my second. The first one, it kind of goes in. It was okay. I gave this one a 3 out of 5, just simply because it was much more better than the last one. So if I'm going to rate the Blind Dead series, which I completed, woohoo! So I would say the first one's great, the second one's great, the fourth one's good, and then you got the
dud.
Yeah, the dud. The third. So kudos to the director and writer, man. I'm glad I finally got to see these films. And now I know that what's that movie with the little Michael kid that chews on his mom's breast?
Burial Grounds.
Burial Ground is just a direct rip-off from these ones. But there you have it, man.
Woohoo! Cool. Well, I am definitely glad that you got to see those. And I think all of them are streaming on Amazon Prime right now, yeah?
Yes, they are.
Cool. Yeah, once again, I'm not ready because I'm a dummy.
That's okay. You got 2 movies left.
Yeah, it's fine. So we will do 19. What the fuck is the year? God damn it, I'm terrible. 1973, and now the screaming starts, which is a Amicus film starring the one and only Peter Cushing. What's up? Yeah, so it's an Amicus film. It's so Peter Cushing's character, he's kind of a wealthy, aristocratic type guy, and his wife is pregnant with a baby, and she's kind of they put her on bed rest and all this and that, and like you clearly tell like something is going on. This woman is pregnant. It just starts seeming really shady, and you're like, what the hell's going on? So lo and behold, we find out that like there's a family curse for any woman that bears child in this particular family is going to be cursed, and you don't really know what the curse is at first. You just kind of hear, oh, something bad's going to happen, something bad will happen. So the whole movie is spent like building up, like is this fucking kid going to come out with like 3 legs and 4 or 5 elbows? Like what the fuck's going to happen? You just don't really know until the last like 25, 30 minutes of the movie. They start explaining, and that years ago one of the house's like landscapers, and him and his wife had lived on the property, but the owner back ever years ago that was, it was probably 50, 100 years ago, whatever the hell it was, basically he rapes that guy's wife and makes him watch, and so then that guy curses the family for eternity for doing so. And what's kind of wild is, so like this guy, they cut his arm off. The guy that had to watch his wife get raped, they cut his arm off, and he has like this weird birthmark on his face. And so I'm gonna spoil this one. The curse is that every child is born missing a hand, and they'll all bear that giant birthmark on the right side of their face. So like every child in the family will look like the guy that was basically betrayed from his employer at the time, because he was just so distraught from having to watch his wife go through that. His wife actually died in childbirth because she had the other dude's child as well. But yeah, it was just a weird, like, the scene at the end is just really great, because like you're waiting to see this fucking baby, like you're like, what's wrong with this baby, and you want to see it, and like this little nub just comes out of the baby blanket. And then the baby turns its head and you see the birthmark, and it's like, no. And then Peter Cushing like loses his fucking mind and goes and digs up the old property, the old landscaper or whatever, and like starts like burning the bones and all this crazy shit. But it's actually a pretty entertaining flick. That's like the first Amicus film I think I've actually liked. As far as talking about some of those old British like Hammer horror, like Amicus came after Hammer, and I haven't seen too many of the Amicus stuff, but from what I haven't enjoyed. But this one, I think, and now the screaming starts is solid with a 3.5 out of 5 from me. I dug it.
Good.
Yeah, it was cool. That little baby arm, man, that shit had me cracking up like hardcore. Probably should have been laughing at it, but whatever. And my last movie is a Criterion, or not a Criterion, and I have an Arrow release Blu-ray of it that I've had for like fucking 5 years or so, of the 2002's Dark Water, directed by Hideo Nakata. So this is, this was 2002, so this is like off the heels of the success of The Grudge and The Ring and all those like Asian horror flicks, and this one is about a mother and daughter who move into they move into like this kind of older, weird building, and the guy that runs the place just seems shady. And when he's showing her the apartment, like there's a water leak in the ceiling, and he's like making sure she doesn't see it. And so the whole movie focuses like on this water cooling, right? Mm-hmm. And the mother like keeps thinking she's hearing things, and the daughter clearly knows something is not right, but the daughter's not really spooked by it. at first. And as you find out, there's like a ghost of a little girl that's around haunting the place, which is keeping it weird. So the water just keeps like pooling up, and the film keeps building and building and building and building, and lo and behold, this little girl had died in the water tank on top of the apartment building. And like the whole movie is like getting the mother to like find the body or get up there and see what's going on. And so water is the big theme, so like big rushes of water come in through certain scenes, which are really cool. And there's one really great scene with the ghost that you get like a really fucking creepy, like super creepy shot of this like creepy fucking kid hugging on this lady, and you're like, this is weird. It's like weird kid, like her arms are all like wrinkly from the water damage, and it's just creepy as shit to see because she's got this little raincoat on, and this little body is just like hugging onto this person, like choking it, and you're like, it's fucking creepy as shit. But man, as far as J horror goes, which is very hit or miss for me, I think this movie is fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah,
like it's slow.
It's got your creepy kids, your long hair.
it's what's definitely slow. Like either you're going to be into the pacing of it or not. But like I feel like the mom's great. I love all these little scenes where like water's kind of appearing in places. So you're always looking like, okay, where's water coming from? And the whole movie is like raining the whole movie everywhere, always. So like the tone is set so good for the story. And if you like J horror stuff, like to me this is better than The Ring, it's better than all those. I thought Dark Water was fantastic. So Dark Water from 2002 for me is a 5 out of 5. I think it's fucking solid nice. J horror. It's really good.
Was there a remake of this one too, an American remake?
Yeah, but it doesn't follow it like it's got Jennifer Connelly in it, and it doesn't really follow. It does follow, but it's just not. I mean, it's an American remake of this movie. It doesn't hit. It misses the mark. Like this one does everything. That was made for an American audience. This is made for, it's cleaned up too much. Honestly, the one with Jennifer Connelly, and it's been forever since I've seen that one, and I didn't really put 2 and 2 together.
Right.
I knew that, but I eventually did. But I was like, oh, and I didn't like the one with her, and in this one, I was like, how is this the same fucking movie?
I knew that there was a remake somewhere along the way.
It is worthy, I tell you. So how about that? We both had a 5 this episode. That doesn't happen very often.
No, well, no, it doesn't. Well, I had a 5 in last month or last episode when I did. That was a 4 or 5 Equinox. I forget. Anyways, let's hope we'll knock it out of the park. The next episode. Yeah, man. Volume 2 of our 31 Days of Horror is
in the books.
In the books, wrapped. That's right, guys. You know where to follow us. We will see you guys next episode, next week. And we'll be back with our next 8 picks, or 9, however we want to do it. And then we'll be back for our finale with Miss Heather Powell. She's going to do 8 films of her choice. So looking forward to that. So also, again, get well, Miss Mona. We hope you feel better.
Yes,
much healing energy to you, sister.
Good vibes.
The good vibes. And yeah, guys, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Go.
Good night and good luck with the Ghosts of Galleon.
You've been listening to the Cemetery Gates podcast, featuring Android Virus and Xander Kane. Follow us on Twitter @AndroidVirus, @Xander_Kane, and @CemeteryGates66.